can take the shot.
Are you telling me to take the shot?
I'm telling you to take the shot. Now hold your fire and take the shot.
Well, I should hold my fire or I should take the shot?
Hold your fire and take the shot.
Oh, man, this is messed up.
Then stand down. Locked and loaded.
Well, I locked and loaded, sir.
Good. God, you must be addicted.
Wait a minute, what are you doing?
Wait. God, you must be addicted to doing squats.
Oh, excuse me, sir.
I said locked and loaded.
No.
Enemy target at 75 meters.
I have a lock.
Do you?
Yes, sir.
Are you sure?
Yes, sir.
Continue to shove and hold your fire.
Are you ordering me to take the shot, sir?
What part of hold your fire and take the shot don't you understand, boy?
All of it, sir.
Just take the damn shot, soldier. Hold your fire and take the shot.
I should take the shot?
Take the shot. Hold your fire and take the shot.
Okay, I'm taking the shot.
Take the shot.
This is the Blood and Black podcast.
Hey guys, welcome to the Blood and Black Rum podcast. I'm Ryan from ColdSweatation.com, and I'm joined with my co-host, Martin.
How's it going?
Go pretty well. It's a little bit of a different Blood and Black Rum podcast show. As we had said, we were going to be doing the shows even though there's a widespread pandemic going on. And unfortunately, in our area at least, the pandemic has gotten worse. It's probably worse than it was in the height of the pandemic, especially when New York City was going through its, thousands of cases. So it's worse in our area. So we decided that we were going to do the show in a different way. And we're doing it remotely. And we're using our Discord server as a means of recording the show. So it's a little bit of a different show for everybody. This is our first remote podcast. We've never done it before. And hopefully it turns out well. We don't really know. We tested it out yesterday, but we don't really know much more than that. And if there's any weird audio glitches or, it sounds like it's coming through a Skype chat or something, that's because it basically is. So this is a weird one for us because we didn't watch the film together. We watched it separately. And generally, we watch the film together. We get together. We drink a few beers. Maybe eat some dinner that my wife cooked up. And then we do the podcast live and in person. And so it's a little bit different to do this time. We don't have the reactions of ourselves when we're watching the movie, which is always a nice gauge of figuring out what we want to talk about during the show. Instead, we've kind of got our individual ideas that we had to come up with while we were watching the film. So that's a little bit different. So we don't know where each other are coming from.
Like a normal podcast.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, like a normal podcast.
A well-structured, thought-out podcast.
That's right. That's right. So for this episode, we were talking about doing a nice Thanksgiving special because as we're recording this, it's Wednesday. Tomorrow is Thanksgiving. This episode is going to go up like right after we get done recording and I edit it. So it will be available for Thanksgiving. So we were like, all right, let's do a Thanksgiving film. And for some reason, I thought that First Blood was a Thanksgiving film. And I don't know where this came from. I thought I read a list of films that were Thanksgiving films, and I thought First Blood was one of them. Did you read this too? Didn't we both read this?
No, it wasn't on the list because the list of films for Thanksgiving films were like appalling. It was like, you can watch You've Got Mail. Dutch.
I think, yeah, right. I think I might have gotten just kind of confused with Rocky. And so for some reason, you were on the Stallone binge. And so instead of Rocky, I thought they were talking about Rambo. And so I thought First Blood was a Thanksgiving film.
To be honest with you, I Never even
doing
realized
First
the
Blood,
Christmas decoration.
even though it's not, because there is 0.0% Thanksgiving in this movie, just so everybody's aware. It really hit the Thanksgiving quota or anything. But what it does have is all of those Christmas stuff of the film. It's not so prominent in the first part of the movie, but in the second half of the film, when he goes back to the city, there are a lot of Christmas decorations. There's like stores lit up, and you get a nice little shot out of the whole mind. And this is sort of like when we did our Die Hard episode, which Die Hard is also a Christmas movie. We're lumping First Blood in as a Christmas movie as well, and starting off our celebration of the holidays. So, it's not Thanksgiving, but it's close enough. It's a holiday film that has about like 2 minutes of holiday stuff in it. It's too bad that you don't see like a Christmas tree getting blown to smithereens or something like that.
Well, this is Rambo's early days.
Yeah.
Low key on the explosions. Though we do get a nice Death Wish car explosion.
That is true. We do. Now I'm not gonna lie here. I've only seen First Blood one other time, and I was only half paying attention to it. I'm not.
Was it the time in my place?
No, I don't think so. No, it was a different time. It was like on TV, and I was like kind of watching it while it was on. Other than that, I hadn't really ever seen First Blood in full. So it was nice to revisit this film and actually pay attention to it. And experience the Sylvester Stallone prominent features of this movie. So interestingly enough, this film had like literally 26 rewrites or some ridiculous number of rewrites because the script was just a giant, terrible mess. And you can imagine having 26 drafts of a film where people are, you've got various people working on the script and bringing their own sorts of writing styles into it. 26 drafts is a mess. I don't know how you would reconcile it. But I do recall seeing that the original like draft was like 3 hours long, something ridiculous. It became like a Luca Guadagnino's Suspiria style film of ridiculous proportions. And now, as I was saying, and I was watching, I was like, I couldn't believe it was 90 minutes because I felt it would have been more like 40 an hour and 45 minutes, something like that. Some of those action films from the 80s were like more like an hour and 45 for whatever reason. But to hear that,
I would say though, by today's standards, First Blood is not an action film.
No, it's not. It's really not. It's more like a you might call it like a drama. I mean, it has some action in it, but it's more of like a suspense drama.
Like a thriller.
Yeah.
Not to say there's not action in the film, but like especially for what most people get in an action film today, this I think would be very milk toast.
Yeah. I honestly, I can't imagine this film being like 3 hours long. It would be like Spartacus level drama or something.
I'd say you can. It's called Apocalypse Now.
Yeah, it's very true. Yeah, something like that. But I mean, that's just egregious, the 3 hour running time. So thankfully, Sylvester Stallone cut it down and basically rewrote the script from scratch. And then you get First Blood. It's kind of interesting that Stallone, of all people, was the one to really like pen the draft that would have been used to, to make the film.
He has written a lot of films.
Yeah, he did. He actually, a lot of the films that he,
say Rocky, he wrote, Rocky, like all the Rockies he wrote, but
I just feel like you don't.
The first one, Rocky 2, are really good.
Yeah, I feel like you just don't.
Cliffhanger.
Yep, cliffhanger. Yeah, I just feel like you don't really think of Stallone as a writer, but he did.
Man of many talents.
That's right. That's right. Is this a similar idea with like Jean-Claude Van Damme as well? Van Damme actually, in some capacity, would write, a lot of the films that he worked on too.
Seagal's got no time for that.
I don't know too much about Seagal's screenwriting days.
I feel like he's the Trump of action films. Gaudy, overweight, and it's like no one really likes you. It's just kind of like,
especially like his later output. Like he's had some fairly recently that are pretty trashy. All right, so let's take our break first of all. And actually with recording this, I can't really see the time that we have going on, which normally we can. So I can like kind of have a gauge of like, all right, we've been doing this too long, or something like that. In this case, I can't. I don't see that information. So hopefully we don't go too far on some of the things that we talk about. But I think it's time we take a break and we chat about the beer that we've got on the show, because we have a pretty appropriate Thanksgiving holiday style beer for the show today. It's not, yeah, Nipa, yeah.
Not your grandmother's stuffing, Nipa.
That's right. That's right. Now we've got a nice apple cranberry Kolsch today from our local brewery, small microbrewery, Druthers. I think we've had Druthers on the show before, or maybe not. Maybe we've just talked about them. But
Druthers on.
We have? Oh, all right.
If you think over the 5 years we've been doing this, we haven't had Druthers on, you're sadly mistaken.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So this beer is an apple cranberry Kolsch, and obviously that makes sense because we wanted to have something that went with the season, and cranberry is one of my go-to flavors for Thanksgiving and Christmas. If I'm not having a beer, I'm having a Moscow Mule with cranberry in it.
Oh, so delightful.
Now, let's turn this into, an NPR style radio talk show. Do you like cranberry, Martin? Do you like cranberry flavor?
Yeah, I love it. Don't like cranberry sauce really, but I love cranberries.
How about just a regular old cranberry? Do you like to just eat cranberries?
I love craisins. Craisins are good.
Okay, well that doesn't count because that's a dried fruit and very different taste than a cranberry.
Well, I've never been gone to the store and be like, I'm going to buy.
Oh my God, you've never had just a straight cranberry, like the fruit, just pop one in like a grape.
Yeah, no, I can't say I have because I don't see cranberries just lying around.
Yeah. Ocean spray. If you go to the grocery store, you go to the fruit section. There's like ocean spray bags of cranberries that you can get.
Well, I can tell you right now, working in a food warehouse, that does have produce and such, we don't even have cranberries.
Well, that's crazy to me. Yeah, I just got some actually. Actually, we got ours from Walmart, so it seems odd that you wouldn't have them at the DC. But
really, maybe I'll make that my job on Friday. I'll double check and see.
Yeah, you'll have to look for them. Yeah, I like a cranberry. I put them in my Moscow Mule as whole cranberries.
Well, I've had it like that. I mean, I just again, it's like a pear. I don't sit down and think like, when was the last time I've had a nice pear?
No, I agree with you on that one. Pears are inferior apples, and that's all there is to it.
Yeah, they don't have like a taste, and they're just like, But then again, I'm not the kind of person that likes to sit down and just like, I'm going to have fruit today. I love it, but it's just, I'm fat, so.
Yeah, it shows.
That's mean. That
I'm
hurts.
joking.
No,
I'm
that
joking.
hurts. That hurts.
No, but I love cranberries like just like that. They're really good. I would encourage anybody to go check them out if you like a nice tart flavor. Cranberries are where it's at. But this apple cranberry Kolsch has a nice cranberry flavor to it. It's a Kolsch, but it does have a tartness of a sour. And I'm curious what you think, Martin, because you hadn't had it before, and you kind of waited until we got into the beer talk to try yours. So, what do you think about the apple
I didn't want
cranberry?
to drink it all, before the show. So
That is true.
I like it a lot. I like apple. I like cranberry. I love Kolsch's. Pairs well.
So a triple strike there.
Yeah, it's a turkey. Gobble gobble. Mm-hmm.
Oh, there you go.
Nice bowling reference for you. Yeah, no, it's good. It's definitely more cranberry than it is apple. The apple's very kind of subtle. Kind of like a nice. Hold on, let me see. I don't know.
Try it again.
Can't really discern what type of apple flavor is there, but it definitely does have that nice tart cranberryness. It's nice, crisp, and clean, like a good Kolsch is. Very underrated beer style, that lends itself to a lot of different flavor profilings that you can do with it. I would say I would definitely get this. This is very good. It's nice, it's crisp, it's light, it's refreshing. 6.2 ABV, so it's a little higher up there, especially for a Kolsch. But still, that being said, it is very crisp and refreshing.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's really refreshing and light. I think it's a great beer for Thanksgiving, to be honest with you, because it is so light.
It'll pair well with your stuffing.
Absolutely.
Pair well with your dark meat turkey.
Yep. And not only that, but because it is so light, you can drink a few more than you normally would as you're stuffing your face. You don't want a super heavy beer on Thanksgiving.
You're not drinking a Russian Imperial?
You know what? I may just do that on Thanksgiving.
You're not gonna like it. Nice. They just released. Did you see the list for the Bourbon County series that Goose Island's doing? It's like the 10.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't see the new ones that they released. I'll have to look at it.
Oh, I've been getting ads left and right on Facebook from them, but I
I
know one of them was like an oatmeal stout, maple bacon, maple bourbon, or some shit like that. So
different than the ones we had last time.
Yeah, it doesn't look like any repeats, but they have like another 7 coming out. So
I'll have to check it out and see if I can find them again. They're like $20 a bottle. So
I know. Well, why do you think? As much as I love like KBS and the Canadian, I'm not going out buying a bottle of that either, because I'll crack it open, drink it, and I'm like, wow, that was great. I feel bad for doing that.
Yeah. All right.
Did you want to talk briefly too about the Warheads?
Yeah, we can, because we probably won't have them on here again. So.
Well, yeah, I'm not buying it again.
Yeah.
Not for that price. No. But I think if you're a millennial, Warheads are something that should be near and dear to your heart.
That is true.
When you're a child, kind of like Shock Tarts, except even more sour.
That's right. Our local brewery, another local brewery around here, small microbrewery, has been making the 4 main Warheads flavors. And they are, watermelon, apple, green apple, blue raspberry, and black cherry, right? Is that what they're?
And it's artisanal that makes it to Artisanal Brew Works. That's based out of Troy.
Yep.
Which we've had guests too.
Yeah, we've had a couple on here. That Warheads it's a malt beverage. It's not technically, what you would consider beer. But it's a malt beverage, and it comes in a 4-pack of all 4, so you get one of each. And so we both got this 4-pack. It's pretty expensive. It's like it ends up with sales tax and can return tax and stuff. It's about $30 total. So it's pretty pricey and not something that you would like get all the time.
I guess it is cheaper at from what a buddy of mine was saying. It's definitely cheaper if you got it directly from them. Like
I don't doubt that.
30, it's like 22.
Yeah, I mean, if you're getting direct from the source, it makes sense that you're gonna get a little discount on it. We're getting we're getting one from a local store that had to go out of their way to get it. So I don't mind paying the extra because of that, but yeah, it's probably cheaper direct from source. But I really enjoyed all 4. I think they all have this really distinctive flavors to them. Most of the time when you sip one, you're definitely getting that authentic Warheads flavor.
Which they do have on the canning too, like the Warheads logo and stuff. So I'm kind of curious though if they had to pay for the rights for that.
Yeah, I think it's if you read the side of the can where it talks about the coloring, it's authentic color. So I'm sure they did. They had to get rights and probably have a testing process to make sure that it had the authentic coloring of the Warhead.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yep. Yeah, it's because the beer itself is actually the blue raspberry is literally blue. The green apple is green.
Yeah, it turned my shit baby green the next day. I don't know if it was like that for you, but it was kind of like when you ate like a Nightmare Whopper. It was
Yep.
Experience.
I can see that. Yeah, but I enjoyed all of them. I think my ranking was the blue raspberry, and then the watermelon, the green apple, and then the black cherry.
I would say for me it was the watermelon, then blue raspberry, then black cherry, and then green apple. I was a little disappointed. I was expecting the black cherry to be my favorite because I love the black cherry Warheads. Wasn't expecting to like the watermelon either because I'm not that big of a watermelon fan, but it definitely, at least for me, was like the best balance between like flavor profile wise because like the sour candy apple definitely tasted like artificial like green apple like the sour apple Jolly Rancher, which is not something that I like.
Yep. The blue raspberry really blew me away because I was like, wow, this really tastes like blue raspberry. It was very, very distinctive.
Yeah, I didn't mind it. I would have liked to see like a lemon one. Like how that would have been like, because the lemon Warhead was like the worst because it's like the tartest of the tart. See, how that would have made.
That's true. Yeah, that would have been interesting. Is that a regular Warheads flavor?
Lemon? Yeah. It was like lemon, black cherry, sour apple, blue raspberry. But I guess you had to pick 4 if you're doing 4-packs, so
Yeah, right.
And that probably would have been like, stupidly tart. Like you'd be sipping on that for hours.
Yeah, maybe they will eventually come out with like the other types of Warheads flavors. I know that they've been making these in really small batches for a while.
It's good. They're good. But it's definitely something like you'll have one and be like, all right, and you'll be good for a while. So aren't they like 8% alcohol too? So it's definitely up there. You're definitely taste like a refined malt beverage. Like if the black cherry is like a refined Steel Reserve black cherry.
Yeah. I definitely think that it's a special occasion beer. You're not going to go out of your way to get them all the time. I can't see very many people wanting to like, have a bunch of these on hand.
No.
I
really do appreciate the idea and effort. 'Cause it's like, hey, something different, something new, not another NIPA.
Yep. And I spread mine out, drinking across like a few days. I did basically one a day.
Yeah, that's how I was too. Like, okay, like what am I having today? You know, and then
yeah, just kind of enjoying it slowly. Yep. All right, let's get into First Blood.
I love, by the way, that you haven't called it Rambo First Blood so far. I appreciate that.
Right, it's First Blood. You know, and then it gets confusing too if you try to call it Rambo. You're like, which film are you talking about? So you have to be, especially on a radio show like us, you have to be consistent and make sure that you're doing it the proper way.
We're the podcast of record.
That's right. You know, we don't do things entirely half-assed. We do things in one sitting, but not half-assed.
Sometimes slapdash, but not half-assed.
That's right. That's a good word for it. Slapdash, but not half-assed.
We should, you know what? Let's put that in our Blood Black Rum podcast store. Make that a bumper sticker. Slapdash, not half-assed.
Yeah, that's a good idea. It's a good idea. It's a good phrase.
Slapdash? I love slapdashed.
Oh, yeah, but I mean the whole thing in general. The whole phrase.
Someone's got to be the one to be able to turn about and be witty, and it ain't you, Mr. fucking English major.
Right.
You just bellicose and, you know, break out words every now and then that make you look smart.
That's right. Yeah, I don't worry about the wittiness. I just go look at a thesaurus and try to find new words for the show. All right. So, First Blood.
We'll make that a segment after 5 years. Ryan's thesaurus word of the show.
That's right. Yeah, we should.
Yeah.
All right, so First Blood, we're around Christmas time. We don't know exactly when, right? We're in Washington.
Beautiful Washington.
It is a very landscapey setting that they've got there.
It was filmed not actually in Washington, but British Columbia. But you know, you definitely get that. You know,
the backdrop of those mountains and the foggy mist in winter is beautiful, especially at the beginning of the film.
It's nice, but at the same time, you're looking at those mountains, like, man, there's like a fog up there 24/7.
Yep,
that don't look like fun.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very picturesque.
Yeah, I wonder where Rambo was hiking from, though, too.
Well, we know he's going to Portland.
I know, but I'm saying, though, like, so where was he, like he got, you know, his letter and he started walking out, like, where was he from? Like, was he coming from, like, Massachusetts?
I don't know. That'd be a far hike.
You know, John Rambo was living out in Georgia, and he's like, oh, fuck. Washington's the old boy.
I don't know. Either way, he's been hiking from somewhere, and he's visiting, and like the film really gets down to business right away. It is just, you know, what's the plot of Rambo? Local yokels are harassing Rambo. Well, that happens in like the first 10 minutes.
Local cunt ruins everything.
That's right. You got Brian Dennehy's character, who is basically small town sheriff officer who feels like he is superior and looking to pick fights with basically the vagrants in the area. And who does he spot but Rambo walking down the street with his long hair and his, you know, it basically looks all disheveled. And he is not one to just let that man go on his way. He's got to accost him right away.
It's definitely now that it's been 40 plus years, and that now 60 to 55 years since Vietnam. It's a generational discord between, you know, Stallone, Rambo, and Dennehy. You know, it's not just that he's a long-haired hippie and shit, but, you know, he's one of them damn dirty Vietnam vets. Can't get his shit together. Well, I fought in Korea. I'm doing fine. The fuck is he doing? Except being
sure.
You know, being an asshole.
Yeah, the film doesn't really go into that too much. That the
throwaway lines.
Yeah, the actual historical context of PTSD and other people who are like, well, I had it bad too. That's kind of the whole idea of Rambo, though it mostly is just making comments about more so the PTSD of Vietnam. But in general, there is that whole idea that you've got Rambo who fought in a different type of war, very different, and you've got Brian Dennehy's character Teasel, who's he's basically pulling rank at this point, and there's a whole conversation later on, with Rambo's handler about what type of man Rambo is, and actually there's a lot of monologues, or I guess you wouldn't call them monologues so much as
exposition dumps.
Yeah, basically, yeah, they're exposition dumps that really try to give you the scope of what's going on with Rambo, because the film, though it gives you the flashbacks to Vietnam, it really relies on those exposition dumps to be like, yeah, he was in Vietnam. We taught him to kill. We said, I think there's a line even that says that, he could eat things that would make a Billy Goat sick. And so basically they're saying he's a machine, he's a killing machine. And, you don't know what kind of terrors you've sparked by pushing him.
Well, it's just funny, too, though, because, hey, we like winners. You didn't win Vietnam. If you fought in Korea, you didn't win Korea, too. Technically, Korea's still going on. That's why North Korea is at high alert all the time, expecting America to come swooping in to take them out at any moment.
Right, that's right.
It's not like you want a winning war there either, but, point.
Yeah,
that's besides the point.
I think Rambo's really interesting in that it does have a lot to say in its plot, even though the plot is very, very minimal. And even maybe unintentionally evoking some of these ideas from the storyline about PTSD and war and the differences between our historic wars, and how those affect both civilians and people that fought in them. Has a lot of resonating impact, even though you kind of tend to think about Rambo, the character, as being like some action hero, blowing things up and, being a vigilante.
No, there's only one vigilante, and his name is Charles Bronson.
We already did him.
We should do it again.
I think that's...
I was say, but you're right, though. Like, poor Rambo, he's just looking for a hot meal. And he's getting accosted by the sheriff, who's like, I don't want, a vagrant like you walking through my town. And when he's asking him, like, well, is there like a diner? He's like, yeah, 30 miles up north. And then, leaves him at the bridge and says, get out. And and turns back around. He's like, this motherfucker, I'm going to arrest him because he's being an asshole.
Yeah, and I think that the interesting part about that is that at that time, Teasel doesn't know that Rambo is a Vietnam War veteran with a storied history. And
but he sees it wearing the nice, green army jacket with the Old Glory on it, and he's like, yeah, it's not for fucking hippies like you because you hate America.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that that all happens before they actually find out about the Congressional Medal of Honor and things like that Rambo has been awarded in his past. So basically, you've got this guy who's treating him like some sort of hobo, and that's really not the case. And you have that juxtaposition of someone who fought in a war. Some might say unnecessarily. That I
think at this point, everyone would say unnecessarily. I still think 2020 Vietnam was a good idea. Then you're a fucking idiot.
No, that's true. I guess maybe I'm talking about in terms of 1982
I think even by then they had sussed out like, maybe that wasn't such a good idea.
Maybe it wasn't a good idea.
I think they've cut. It'd be like now 20 years after the fact. If someone's still sitting here like, yeah, it was a great idea. Iraq.
That's right. Yeah.
If you haven't reckoned with that yet, there's a problem with your psyche.
But I do think that it's just an interesting idea that they have going on, and really Rambo, should be a pretty empathic character for us to follow as a protagonist, because
it's not just because he's being accosted, but when he does go to visit his friend, he finds out he's dead because he got cancer from napalm. And as he's showing his friend's wife's, the picture, he's telling them how like here they all are and such, and they're all dead, and I can't wait to see this one buddy that's still here that wrote to me, and no, he's dead too.
So not a good time for Rambo, especially not a good time for Teasel to come up and give him a hard time. And basically, in the car ride, police car ride, this is a nice little, actually a really good scene with Stallone, who's it's like, why are you pushing me? I like that because sometimes some people might say Stallone is kind of a the character that he plays is pretty much the same all the time. But I do think that he does a pretty good job with Rambo, especially in the early parts of this movie, coming off as more of a sympathetic character.
No, definitely. Brian Denny, he's also like the perfect asshole too.
For sure. On this, just loving, pulling rank, and also he's trying to be that small town cop hero too, because you see at the beginning of the film, there's that whole sequence of him saying hi to basically all the people in the.
How's it going? Huh? How's it going? How's your kids doing? Yeah, hi.
Yeah, just like the small town cop, in the morning coming out with his coffee and literally saying hi to every single person that he comes across in town. It's like the idyllic community.
I just love the idea. Like, listen, if I let John Rambo come walking through the streets of Hope, then there are going to be more fucking hippies walking through my town. I can't be having that. This is a good, clean-cut town.
Right, with just a bunch of backwoods hillbillies as their police officers.
Listen, if they were to remake this today, like, and it was like some fucking Marvel Productions or DC, some asshole would be throwing in like Merle Haggard's Okie from Muskogee, and like just to let everyone know, like, we don't smoke marijuana in Hope, Washington, and we don't take our trips on LSD. As Rambo's walking through the town.
How about the rambling man?
Just
the thematic resonance of these.
As he would be having his Vietnam flashbacks, they'd be sure to put fucking Fortunate Son playing in the background, as you can hear choppers over Nam. So our poor friend John Rambo ends up getting arrested for vagrancy, and what was it? What else did he get charged for? It's like vagrancy. Is there resisting arrest too?
I don't think it's a resisting arrest, but he has that knife.
Oh yeah,
so he's basically concealed weapon carrying.
But I like it too. He's like, you'll spend 90 days in jail and have to pay $250.
$250 fine. I know that's really off-putting.
Like you can afford that. And then all the asshole cops at the local sheriff's department decide to be fucking assholes and accost him and harass him and hose him down and beat him. Especially one particular deputy, Sergeant Galt, takes great pleasure in beating him.
Right, he does. You get to see Stallone ass as he gets hosed down. That should be pleasant for some people. So what I was saying this to you, this movie has got to be a conservative's nightmare because you're presented with an impossible decision. Do you side with the Vietnam War vet, storied career, war hero, or do you side with the good old boys in blue who are harassing him? Which one is right in this scenario?
It'd be like that meme of the superhero looking at the two buttons and, the sweat rolling down his face as he's got like a nice handkerchief dusting it off. Like, I don't know. Choose.
It's so funny too because a lot of films are fairly fairly liberal in their approach, and so you have this film that would obviously would appeal to people who are conservative because of the action elements of it, but then when they actually have to sit down and think about the theme of the film, it's a little bit more tenuous.
Excuse me.
Bless you.
Sorry. I won't say I'm not gonna. I don't think though. Jokes being aside, I definitely don't think this is like it's not like a lefty liberal paradise of a film. It's just showing the plight of PTSD ridden soldiers and the misunderstandings that they face. I don't really think that's either a conservative or liberal take. It's more just after hundreds of years of trying to figure out, thousands of years, I should say, of trying to figure out this phenomena, it's a little bit better understood.
Yeah, that is true. You're right. I don't really think that it's.
As I say, it's been named like shell shock from like World War I, or soldiers fatigue, battle fatigue, But you're right. It does put a conundrum on, like, well, who do you root for? Like, well, he is a war hero, but he was being a vagrant.
Yeah, I think it just obviously you're supposed to root for Rambo, right? I mean, he was. There's the whole line and the title of the movie that they drew first blood. And so obviously you're supposed to be rooting for Rambo as the main protagonist, and we do see that for the most part it was the intentional bullying and harassment from the police that caused Rambo to have his PTSD flashbacks, basically envision himself in some sort of guerrilla fight. And, obviously, especially too in the film, it does make it apparent that Rambo knows the reality of the situation. He's not like living in some sort of PTSD hallucination where he thinks he's actually in Vietnam in the jungles and he's fighting,
Wouldn't that be something?
Right. If it was an actual hallucination,
just him, tripping balls the entire movie, like wherever,
Yeah, we know that that's not the case because he does bring up the fact, he knows exactly what's going on, and he actually even tries to surrender at one point where he comes out and says, I don't want any more people getting hurt, and I just.
I didn't kill him. It was, when they're talking about Galt when he falls out of the fucking chopper, ass over tea kettle.
Yeah. So the film definitely wants you to see Rambo as a protagonist, and I don't disagree. I mean, I think that really comes through, and you've got a bunch of asshole cops who think that they can just bully anybody, and they even bring up Rambo's handler brings up the fact that at this time you made a mistake. You didn't know who you were who you were goading into.
Yeah.
So it's I think it's a really interesting plot that has been brought up in Rambo with the PTSD elements, and I think it does a really good job, despite the fact that for 90 minutes it doesn't have a significant plot to it besides what it sets in motion right at the beginning of the film, and then also the exposition dumps that we get like here and there throughout the movie.
Yeah, and from the prison, well, not even prison, I should say, but county jail, where he escapes, we get a pretty cool motorcycle chase. Dirt bike chase where he's driving down, and being chased by Brian Dennehy.
Yeah, that's an awesome chase.
Which, by the way, too, Brian Dennehy, what a dumbass. He's like following him through like the woods and the holler and like fucking barreling down rocks a cliff in his police car to get Rambo. Look at that.
So, I was actually.
It's almost
well, he did.
It's almost like he's like he. It feels like the only reason he's doing it is like it would make sense of like, oh shit, Rambo's got evidence like to turn in that I'm like a dirty cop or something. No, it's just pride. He's just like, I gotta fucking get this fucker, for showing us up. Like, it's kind of ridiculous. I mean, it's a cool chase scene, but like just watching Brian Dennehy track him down in his fucking cruiser, it's kind of ridiculous because like, why are you fucking even bothering? Just like, all right, you got away. Darn. At least he's not in my town anymore.
Yeah, for sure. It's almost like now that's become sort of a, sort of. What'd you say?
An obsession because he's kind of, captivated by it.
Yeah, for sure. He's definitely, it's something, and they bring it up later on too. He thinks it's like his career move to be the hero here and bring down this guy who's causing so much trouble in this small town. But at the same time, it's not going to work out the way he thinks because now they're just going to have to, say that, oh yeah, no, he brought down a storied war hero. It's not the.
He ends up having to crawl out of his cruiser because he fucking flipped it ass up over end. It's like someone's like, oh god, there goes a $10,000 car right there. Just.
The dirt bike scene, though, with whoever is piloting that dirt bike, that's a really good scene, especially where they go through the gas station and there's like a
between the car and the pumps.
Yeah, that's like a very narrow squeeze right through there. That's an awesome moment. The whole thing just has a really good pacing to it. It's not an overblown scene.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, like I said, because it's understated. Like, now it'd be like, oh, it was the explosions and shit, Honestly, the best part to me is just watching Dennehy's car fucking drive around, because that thing has got so much torque in its rear-wheel drive, so you're just seeing that thing fucking squib around, trying to hold onto the road. It's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Something you can't get nowadays with most of these front-wheel drive cars.
There's another pretty good chase scene towards the end of the film too.
Well, you don't want to talk about the hunt in the woods first?
Oh, yeah, we can. I was just
the meat and potatoes of this film is Rambo for 60 minutes just hiding out in the woods, just fucking with them.
Yeah, that's a good guerrilla warfare scenario of him being out in the woods, whittling down his sticks, creating, various traps, Home Alone style traps in the woods.
Taking a burlap sack and realizing he can't be out in the cold with his wife beater on. He's got to have something a little bit more substantive and, creates a nice little poncho.
And not only, so I think the most impressive thing that Rambo does when he's out in the woods is throw a fucking rock at a floating helicopter, smashing the windshield of the helicopter, and then that's when he causes Galt to plummet out of the helicopter into the rock quarry.
The pilot does say, like, briefly, like, why it's like the thing's swaying around so much is because there's like an air pressure pocket or some shit.
Yeah, there's like a storm because they do end up getting like that thunderstorm, and so they didn't want to come back.
Yeah, so but Galt's also a fucking awful shot.
Yeah,
I mean, like there's because he's got Rambo dead to rights sitting there hanging on the rocks, and he's just missing left and right as he's. Not only that, I'm pretty sure, he fired off more shots than he had in that rifle, but, that's neither here nor there.
Probably.
Well, that is a pretty cool, intense scene, watching Rambo kind of get his bearings and, deciding as he's about to get shot and he's like, oh, what the fuck do I do? And he just fucking jumps and he's like, I'll just take plummeting in the tree branches and then trying to break my fall, from 50 feet up.
Yeah, he just jumps into the tree and uses it to slow himself down by, basically hitting every single branch on the tree.
And it's pretty cool too, the way, because you wouldn't expect, like I said, this is why, First Blood's not your, it's definitely a prototypical action film, because the only real death in the film is Gull. And the way he dies is, like you said, Rambo throwing a rock and then he fell ass over tea kettle out of the helicopter and just landed on some rocks.
Yeah. And so that's that whole element too. I love that when he's plummeting and he's like going literally slow-mo, legs up in the air, head down. Great scene, great moment.
It's nice too. They didn't add any splat noises or anything. It's just thud.
Yeah, no Wilhelm scream.
Missed opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah, so you've got that whole scenario of him basically being hunted through the woods. Eventually it comes into contact with a group of basically they call them like weekend warriors because they're volunteers who are out and about trying to help with the search party, and they have a rocket launcher.
Because it's the National Guard. That's why they're called the Weekend Warriors.
So the rocket launcher part, basically, what? Oh, you're just laughing at the.
Say you paused for 5 seconds, so I didn't know if you blacked out or something.
Sometimes it's hard to tell. I don't want to talk over you if we're. Because sometimes if I talk and you're talking, it cuts out the audio. So sometimes I wait to see if you have anything to add. But so that's what makes it hard to be not in the same room, as you can't really tell who's going to talk or what.
But did you hear what I said? Because you called them Weekend Warriors. I'm like, yeah, because they're National Guard. That's why.
Yeah, but they're volunteers too. Because the one guy says he's got to get back to the pharmacy on Monday.
Yeah, he's National Guard. That's what they got called up to track him down. That's what the Guard is. They're not full time. They're literally citizens. And then when they get called up for duty, that's it.
They're volunteers. That's what I'm saying.
No, you get paid for the Guard, but I mean that's one of the funny lines though. Is when he's like, because he's a fucking guardsman, so he gets paid to go on the weekends to do this, and then he's like, Brian Denny, he tells him you gotta start digging. He's like, come on, I gotta go to the drugstore tomorrow. Run the store tomorrow.
Yeah, it's
funny.
It is funny. Especially because they just caused a giant, basically giant pile of rubble to sift through because they're being asked to find Rambo's body.
But you forgot to mention before you even get to the guards, the whole deputies, they get taken out, and I don't know if you know, the one guy that gets taken out by the fucking Home Alone spike death trap, which is kind of surprising that didn't kill him, getting impaled pretty badly in his legs. That who that deputy is? It was constantly screaming for 5 minutes for Brian Dennehy's help.
No.
It was Deputy Mitch, who was played by David Caruso. You may know him as Horatio Caine.
Yeah, I know that. I didn't realize that was the one who got the leg swipe there. I knew he was in it, and he looks extremely young in this one. He's the deputy who's kind of like, I don't know if we want to go doing this.
And then he's laughing. Yeah, you feel like at first they would have a conscience, at least in the group, and it seems like he will be at first, but then he's kind of reveling in it too. We're on, blah blah blah. He's almost like your Bill Paxton being like, game over, man, game over type of guy. Like we're not hunting, we're being hunted. I don't know why I made him sound like Hank Hill.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, and to be honest with you, like when you first see Mitch, it's hard to recognize him as David Caruso.
Yeah, no, definitely.
He's so young and he looks so different. You don't really put two and two together. But yeah, what do you think about the cave sequence where he's going through the cave and all those rats come out? Basically, Vietnam era esque,
like a tunnel, like
jungle.
Like he's on the Ho Chi Minh Trail.
Right, basically.
Pretty cool. I think it would have been better if they kind of focused on that. I think the fact that they constantly cut back to like Brian Dennehy and then Colonel Troutman's little monologue, discussions kind of hinders it, because even though I like Dennehy and I like Richard Crenna as Troutman, like constant like flashing back and forth from that, just to hear like I said, exposition dumps essentially is kind of a little
Yeah, for sure. It's a little bit too much with all the exposition.
Like as good as Troutman is, his best part is like at the end, and then like when he first shows up, when someone's like, "God, how did God make a man like that?" And he's like, "God didn't make him. I made John Rambo." That's cool and badass. And when he's talking about why Rambo is such a badass, that's pretty cool. But when they're like at the fucking bar and having a smoke and a drink, it's kind of like ugh,
Yeah, there is a couple of those. It's like the film doesn't really know how to maximize the character development without also having a couple characters who have to directly say exactly what they want the audience to think or feel. It might be. I think it would be a little bit. Even though you said, him saying, "Yeah, I made him," is kind of cool and badass. I think it would be a little bit better for the film to allow the audience to make that to make that connection, that it wasn't something that Rambo was born to do or anything like that. It was a learned and intentional
creation of him.
I almost wanted to say corruption, but not corruption, but it just fulfilled a duty without the concern about what that's going to do to somebody once they're no longer needed. But
yeah, I definitely agree.
So, and once you get to the end of the film where Rambo has now gotten out of the jungle, or not the jungle, but the woods, and he's going back to town, the film really kind of goes into a tailspin where it's sort of like, shit, we need to wrap this up. What do we do? How do we get out of this now? And the ending is like so abrupt. It's just very, very quick. There's basically a couple of key speeches that are done, and then the film pretty much ends. And not only that, but it ends with Stallone coming out, being escorted, and the credits rolling over him. It's almost like the film wasn't even done. They were just like, you know what, let's just end it.
Oh yeah, it's supposed to be 3 hours, right?
I know, but it's just now with the 90-minute runtime, the ending is just comes out of nowhere. Really, it's just like, okay, that's it. We're done. We're out.
Well, the book ends with him dying, so definitely him living at the end. Kind of maybe a sequel.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know if they were thinking like that, but I think, I think though, just it would, you kind of have to end it with end it there, just so it's something like, well, at least he's not dead, because you sympathize with Rambo. So, though, right, at the same time, when you get to his speech, maybe death would have been better for him.
Yeah, I mean, for all of his speech being used and sort of like memed now, I do think it's a pretty well written speech. At least I don't know that Stallone is able to deliver it in the dramatic way that it probably could have been done.
Really, I think it's like his best, like one of his finest hours.
It is fairly good. I don't know I think some people could have done it better than Stallone.
I think his just raw visceralness and just, like the way he is kind of like that makes that,
Yeah.
Do you want to see Robert Redford yelling like, I used to $5 million equipment and I can't park cars. Like you need somebody like Stallone fucking just shouting and,
It's true. Yeah.
Like, I mean, it fits.
It does, you're right. I think he does a good job with it. I think
you're being clouded just by his recent output.
Maybe. I think, like I said, I think he does a good job. I think it might have, there are some people who maybe could have done it better, but I think that you're right. The visceral nature of it, the way that he basically is all in on the part, it does work. And I think that the one, like what you were saying, the part about him specifically talking about how much of a war hero he was, and then coming back, not being able to do the things that,
well, at that point, it's not even about him being a war hero. It has nothing to do with him being a war hero. It's like this, out, in Vietnam, fighting for his country. These are the things he can do, that he's tasked with. He's not even framing it in a way of being like, heroic, but like he's asked to do all this stuff and he can do it. But now back here, he can't even park cars, as a job. Can't hold the job down. That's the main point. Like that doesn't even have him being a war hero is just like a character point. Like when it comes to that, like I think PTSD and character framing, him being a hero is not the point. It's what he and his fellow soldiers who may not have been recognized were tasked with and asked to do and capable of doing, but now cannot do when they return back to society, civilized society as a civilian.
Yeah, not only that, but they're not even able to get help for that. Like there's no one for them to talk to about this. They're kind of on their own.
Yeah. Because all his friends are dead. All the people he could connect with and relate to are dead. That's that's mainly, the point of the film, like that disconnect and like how you need to be able to relate to these soldiers. Like you may have disagreed with the Vietnam War and what was fighting for, but you can't, you can't blame the soldiers who fought it.
Right.
Especially if they were drafted, because they may very well have not wanted to fight the war and were against it, but they sure as shit didn't want to get sent to prison for, draft dodging. So, and that's the point. But like I said, kind of going back to like your 3-hour point, I think the film works better in 90 minutes if you watch it in the time period with that kind of time frame in mind. But I think if nowadays, if this were to get made, now it's so far gone from Vietnam, you'd almost have to elaborate, like, not say make it 3 hours, but you'd have to like add like another 30 minutes to add historical context. Because I think a lot of that would get lost in translation these days.
Well, I do think that the film needs a little bit
knowledgeable citizenry.
Yeah, I mean, I think the film needs a little bit longer at the end of the movie. I think it needs just a little bit more than what we get to kind of conclude it. It just feels a little rushed.
I'm kind of surprised now I think about it that they haven't remade the film and like had like instead of it being about a Vietnam vet having a Iraqi vet come back. Kind of surprised Hollywood hasn't jumped on that. That seems like an idea ripe for the picking.
I mean, in some ways they've done that, just not as a Rambo film.
Yeah, but then you'd make so much more money calling it First Blood.
It's true.
But it's definitely a great speech. I love it, because the high that he goes from of like him, when he's talking to Troutman, about what he's seen, what he was capable of doing and all of that. And then, just watching him break down as he's like talking about one of his, buddies that he was in this squad and how they were talking about driving his convertible and doing this and that. And he's like, well, one day he got shot and his, guts are flying out and he's talking about how he wants to go home and he needs help. And I'm like, I can't help you. What the hell do I do? It's, and the way Stallone kind of, he goes into all of that, I think is very well done. It's definitely one of his best performances, like outside of like Rocky 1, 2.
Yeah. What do you think the music throughout?
It's done by Jerry Goldsmith.
Yep.
Well noted. It's not bad. I think it's overused though. There's like this whole film was just kind of crammed with music and even spots where it kind of just like you don't really need it. I think where like silence and ambiance would have made the film more impactful. Like there's scenes where like Rambo's like hunting down like the first group of deputies in the woods, where I think if they weren't blasting that goddamn soundtrack throughout those scenes, would have been a lot more impactful. It's definitely not his best work.
I think
it's not bad, but it's definitely I think overused and yeah, the film could have used more ambiance to it.
Yeah, I think the actual score is good. I don't the songs, like the ending of the film, the song, a little cheesy now, but anything else that you wanted to talk about that we didn't really get into?
Might be it.
I think it's a fun film.
Yeah, it's definitely like I said, like the whole end action set piece too, like of Rambo running around blowing up the gas station and shit is kind of a little goofy, and then him running around shooting off the M60 to kind of distract him. All a little goofy now. Doesn't seem, but still not bad. I do think that one of the weaker points of this film, outside of the end, like as you said, with the way it ends, like the whole, I think, third act ending sequence is kind of, a little lame. Outside of, Rambo's speech. Like the whole setup of him, like kind of, I'm not saying it had to be over the top, but like just him coming back to the town and what he does to kind of like, get even. It's just kind of like,
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely think it's a bit rushed towards the end.
It's anticlimactic.
Yeah, they weren't really sure how to end it.
His final confrontation with like Denny, he's a little anticlimactic. But like I said, the film's overall very understated because you have, outside of Denny and Galt, that's about it for the death. So, and everyone else that he kind of takes out is very kind of visceral and realistic. So it makes sense, but it's still kind of a little bit like,
Yeah. So out of 10 burlap ponchos, what would you give First Blood?
I'd give it an 8. It's a good film. It's definitely not the movie I think people, when they associate Rambo, that they'll think of. Because like I said, it's pretty, like by today's standards, it's pretty tame and understated. I think it tackling the issue, the idea and the issue with like Vietnam vets and their trials coming back and the PTSD that they faced, though the fulcrum of the film, it's definitely understated and minimalistic, and I think they get the most mileage out of it that they can. I like the setting of Washington. The whole like British Columbia mountains looks beautiful. It's got a very, almost, Western Deliverance kind of feel to it. Instead of, the Kentucky Appalachian Mountains, you got British Columbia Mountains. It's very cool. I think the premise is really good. The film is definitely carried by Stallone and Brian Dennehy. and their interaction. It's got great ideas. Like I said, because the PTSD is minimal. The whole like talking about flashbacks, it's literally just that quick scene in the prison where that happens. It's not really something that's, really brought up. The action, though understated by today's standards, is pretty damn good. It definitely holds up. I think the only really downfall of this film is that not that it's slow paced, but I think the fact that it relies a lot on exposition dumps between Dennehy and Troutman to kind of set the last two acts hinders it, because it's, doesn't come across as good dialogue. It's just, like I said, exposition dumps. But, it's never over speech is very good. And I think Stallone did a great job. This is definitely one of his finest hours. So I'd say 8 out of 10. It's definitely worth watching, and you'll be disappointed when you watch the later films.
Yeah, I agree. 8 out of 10. So yeah, that's it for our Rambo show. First Blood.
Hooray!
Did you want to say anything else?
Yeah, just, from this we got Rambo's a part of the popular culture zeitgeist. All started here. Well, it started with the book, but, who read that?
That's right.
He's so popular, he's one of the new Mortal Kombat DLC characters. So if you ever wanted to know who would win a fight, John Rambo or the Terminator, now you can figure it out. Or John Rambo versus Spawn. They actually, this is a lot for Stallone. Stallone actually, in the MK11, for his character, he voiced him. Ernie did not voice the Terminator.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
And actually, they just added Mortal Kombat, the movie skins for Raiden and Sonya and Johnny Cage. Because Shang Tsung is actually voiced by the person in the game, is voiced by his actor from the film, and they mocked him up to look like him. And I think now, at least with the Raiden that I saw, if you dress him up as Chris Lambert, that's Chris Lambert talking. So good on Warner Brothers and NetherRealm for that. That's really cool.
Yeah, I guess so.
I don't know if Lindsay Ashford and them voiced the rest, but still cool. But yeah, Rambo. Pretty cool.
Pretty cool stuff. So we have come to the end of our quote unquote Thanksgiving episode. But we are going to be back for basically the rest of the holiday season as we do all of our Christmas episodes. As you know, we normally do them every week, and we're going to do that. We've got 4 on the docket for us in the coming weeks. So we will be back next week. And I think we will start things off with the final episode in our Silent Night, Deadly Night series, which is the remake Silent Night. It's one I've never seen before. So I'm definitely curious about it. And that will put a nail in the coffin of all the Silent Nights that we have been doing since we've been doing them for what, like 6 years now?
Yeah.
Something ridiculous. Every Christmas we do a sequel, and so this will be the end of that. It's kind of been the legacy. So if you like what you're hearing, definitely check us out on pretty much any podcasting app you could think of. We're on it. Leave us a nice review and subscribe to us. We're also on Facebook at facebook.com/bloodandblackrum. We're on Twitter at bloodandblackrum. And we have an email address at bloodandblackrumpodcast@gmail.com. You can write to us, let us know what you want to hear us cover on the show, and we'll take that into consideration. Finally, you can donate to us. We have a Patreon page at patreon.com/bloodandblackrumpodcast. If you want to donate anything monthly, it definitely helps us out with our hosting fees and stuff like that. So anything that you can donate is appreciated. Other than that, thanks for listening to our special Thanksgiving episode of First Blood, and we hope to see you back for our holiday episodes next week.
Take care. Happy Festivus and happy Thanksgiving.